To keep yourself updated, subscribe to Indigo Learn and click the bell icon and download our app OneFin to start learning on the go.
Hello my dear students, welcome to Indigo Learn. So friends, Shivateja is back again in front of you guys to discuss about some interesting MCQs released by ICI specifically with respect to CA Inter GST. That is, we know that at CA Inter GST, we have got some interesting MCQs which generally keep coming in the examination, and ICI has released some interesting MCQs which I found were very conceptual and which really makes a lot of sense. So without any delay, my dear friends, let's look at these interesting MCQs where there is a high possibility that a question may trigger in the examination from this MCQs what we are discussing. And as I told you many times even before, that MCQs are not something which we need to separately prepare for MCQs as such. It will just directly hit from the concept what we have learned and the concept what we have discussed. So if we are perfect with the concept, we can happily answer any MCQ, whatever it is. Are we clear with that point, my dear friends? So without any delay, let's proceed to understand the interesting MCQs what we have got in our syllabus, guys. Come on. Already as a part of our course, we have so many case study based MCQs and independent MCQs, which already we gave as a part of the course. But apart from that, some more interesting extra MCQs, which ICA have released. Let's look at that also, guys. Come on. The first question. Exempt, a supplier registered under GST in Meghalaya, wants to opt for composition levy. We know that the concept of composition scheme is given by Section 10. And the aggregate turnover limit for composition levy is how much? Generally, the aggregate turnover limit for composition levy is 1.5 crores. But when it comes to Meghalaya, the aggregate turnover limit for composition scheme is only 75 lakhs. So answer is option B, my dear friends, 75 lakhs. Second question. Person making interstate supply of goods from Madhya Pradesh is compulsorily required to get registered under GST, provided goods are not notified handicraft goods nor predominantly handmade notified products. If it is not handicraft goods, if it is not handmade products, and if the person is doing interstate taxable supply of goods, let me make you recall, my dear friends, as per section 24, registration is mandatory irrespective of turnover. So there is no question of 20 lakh, 10 lakh, 40 lakh. Registration will become mandatory as per section 24 if a person is engaged in interstate taxable supply of goods. Next point. Which of the following supply of service are exempt under GST? Number one, testing of agriculture produce, that is exempt, guys. Supply of farm labor, that is also exempt. Third one, warehouse of agriculture produce, let me tell you guys, that is also exempt. So all the 3 points here are exempt. So that means answer is 1, 2, and 3, which is nothing but option D. Clear, guys? Next question, guys. Question number 4. Input tax credit is not available in respect of what? Let's see the options. Number 1, services on which tax has been paid under composition levy, no ITC. Goods given as free samples, here also no ITC, because per section 17 subsection 5, which deals with the concept of block credits in case of goods lost, stolen, destroyed, disposed of, or written off by way of gift or free samples, input tax credit is not allowed. Goods used for personal consumption, here also no ITC. So in first point, second point, third point, all 3 points, ITC is not allowed. So answer is option D, 1, 2, and 3. Next. Suhas and Co., a registered person, supplies taxable goods to unregistered person. That means it is clearly a B2C transaction. If a registered is supplying to another registered, we call it as B2B. But if registered is supplying to unregistered person, we call it as B2C. It need not issue tax invoice if the value of supply of goods is what? And the recipient does not require such invoice. So let me make you recall some interesting concept which clearly says that if the transaction is a B2B transaction, then tax invoice must be issued irrespective of value of supply. But if 3 conditions are satisfied, then invoice is not required. The 3 conditions are: condition number 1, recipient is unregistered person. Condition number 2, recipient does not want invoice. Condition number 3, the value is less than 200. They never told exactly 200, less than 200. So what is option 1? 1200, invoice is required. 600, invoice is required. 150, invoice is not required. And see the fourth option, crazy option, exactly 200. Exactly 200 invoice is required, guys. The reason being very clearly that in law they told invoice is not required and 3 conditions are satisfied. Recipient is unregistered person, recipient does not want invoice, and the value is less than 200. If it is exactly 200, then also invoice is required. Invoice is not required only if the value is less than 200. So in this case, answer is option C, my dear friends, 150 rupees. Next point. Question number 6. Various taxes have been subsumed in GST to make one nation, one tax, one market for consumer. Out of the following, determine which taxes have been subsumed in GST. We know that GST is a conglomeration of various indirect tax laws. Various multiple indirect tax laws have been subsumed into GST to make it one nation, one tax. Of course, direct tax is still there. First one, BCD, friends, basic customs duty is still in existence. And the taxes on lotteries, this is subsumed in GST, guys. Environment tax, that is still in existence. So what is subsumed in GST in this particular options is only second point, that is taxes on lotteries. So answer is option A, that is second point, that is nothing but taxes on lotteries. 7th question. Service by way of transportation of dash by rail from Chennai to Gujarat is exempt. Pulses is definitely exempt. Military equipments, that is also exempt, guys. Electric equipments, there is no exemption for it. That is taxable. And transportation of jaggery, that is also taxable, guys. So exemption is only for 1 and 2, that is pulses and military equipments. So answer is option A, guys. Like this, a lot of times question keep coming from exemption, where a straightforward question will not come. They'll ask question like this in MCQs, which is very, very scoring, guys. Multiple choice question, one hand very, very scoring, one hand very, very slippery. So you have to be very, very careful while solving question on multiple choice, where you have to properly understand the concept and then only answer that particular question. Next point. GST is not payable by recipient of service in the following cases. Service provided by way of sponsorship to ABC Limited. This is covered in RCM, guys. Next. Service supplied by a director registered under GST of Galaxy Limited to Mr. Krishna. For this, RCM will not come, because RCM will come only when service is given by a director to a body corporate. So this particular transaction, no RCM. Next point. Services by Department of Post by way of Speed Post to MNO Limited. This also no RCM, guys. Forward charge mechanism only will apply. Then, service supplied by recovery agent to SNSP Bank. This is covered in RCM. What is that they asked? They asked in the question, GST is not payable by recipient in the following cases. That means in which following cases RCM will not apply. So RCM will not apply in second and third case. Second and third case. So answer is option C, guys. Getting clarity, my dear friends? Very, very interesting question, friends. Next point. Question number 9. Mr. X, a CTP, is not involved in making taxable supplies of notified handicraft goods or predominantly handmade notified products. Which of the following statement is true for CTP? Friends, let me make you recall section 24, which talks about compulsory registration irrespective of threshold limit. In that, there is one point which talks about CTP, nothing but casual taxable person. But if CTP is engaged in handicraft goods or handmade goods, then registration is not required. Or else, my dear friends, registration is mandatory for CTP irrespective of threshold limit as per section 24. So first point, X is not required to take registration under GST under any circumstance. False. X is required to take registration for 20 lakhs. No, false. 40 lakh, again false. Mr. X has to compulsory get registered under GST irrespective of threshold limit. This is a perfect statement. So answer is option D, my dear friends. Next question. Question number 10. Registration certificate granted to NRTP is valid for a dash days from effective date of registration or the period specified in registration application, whichever is earlier. Friends, let me tell you, as per section 27, registration granted to CTP or NRTP is valid for period specified in the application or 90 days, whichever is earlier. So answer is option C, my dear friends, 90 days. Getting clarity? Good. Next point. Which of the following activities shall be neither treated as supply of goods nor treated as supply of service? We have got something called Schedule 3, read with section 72A, which talks about transactions which are neither regarded as supply of goods nor regarded as supply of service. If it is neither supply of goods nor supply of service, that means GST will not apply. First bit. Permanent transfer of business asset where ITC has been availed on such asset. This is definitely supply. Moreover, this is given by section 7(1)(c). Next point. Temporary transfer of intellectual property right. This is also a supply, my dear friends. Transportation of disease. This is covered in Schedule 3. And service provided by employee to employer in the course of employment. This is also covered in Schedule 3. So what is covered in Schedule 3 is point number 3 and point number 4. Transportation of disease is covered in Schedule 3 and also service by employee to employer in the course of employment. This is also covered in Schedule 3. So that is 3 and 4. So answer is, my dear friends, option D, 3 and 4. Next point. 12th question. Balance in electronic credit ledger can be utilized against payment of what? We are talking about credit ledger. Friends, let me make you recover an interesting concept, that is credit ledger balance can be used only and only for payment of output tax. If you are required to pay any interest or penalty or late fees, or if required to pay any tax under reverse charge mechanism, we can do that only by using electronic cash ledger. But credit ledger balance can be utilized only and only for payment of output tax. So answer is option A, my dear friends, output tax. Very interesting question. High possibility that question may come in the examination. Next, 13th question. How is aggregate turnover calculated for determining threshold limit? Friends, this aggregate turnover word is defined by section 2(6), which clearly says aggregate turnover covers all taxable supplies, exempt supplies, interstate supplies, and exports on all India basis under same PAN, but does not include value of inward supplies on which recipient is liable to pay tax under RCM. So first point, they covered exempt, they covered export, but they have not mentioned about all India basis. Second point, each state separately, that is also wrong. Each state separately, that is also wrong. So answer is option D, my dear friends, because they clearly told aggregate taxable, exempt, exports, interstate, same PAN, all India basis excluding taxes, if any under CGST, SGST, and also under IGST. So aggregate turnover covers all taxable supplies, exempt supplies, interstate supplies, and exports on all India basis under same PAN. Next, question number 14. Within how many days a person should apply for registration under GST apart from provisions of voluntary registration? So any person who is liable for registration, he must apply for registration within 30 days from the date he becomes liable. In fact, this point is given by section 25. So answer is option B, my dear friends, within 30 days from the date he becomes liable. Next, question number 15. Kaleem and Associates made an application for cancellation of GST registration in the month of March due to closure of its business. Fine. Its application for cancellation of registration was approved with effect from 4th September by proper officer by passing order for the same on 14th September. In the required case, Kaleem and Associates is final return. Oh, friends, let me tell you, we have got something called section 45, which deals with the concept of section 45, which deals with the concept of final return, which clearly says this particular final return is required to be filed by the persons whose registration is cancelled. And the time limit to file final return is basically within 3 months from the date of cancellation or within 3 months from the date of order of cancellation, whichever is later. It is not earlier, whichever is later. So out of these two, what is later is 14th September. From there, 3 months will be 14th October, November, December. 14th December will become your answer. So answer is option D, my dear friends, 14th of December, because final return is required to be filed actually in a form called GSTR 10, and it is to be filed within 3 months from the date of cancellation or 3 months from the date of order of cancellation, whichever is later. Next. Zoilo has 3 branches in Jalandhar, Amritsar, Ludhiana, and all 3 of them are in Punjab only. Amritsar and Ludhiana are branches are engaged in supply of garments, and Jalandhar branch is engaged in supply of shoes. Which of the following options are legally available for registration to Zoilo & Co? Let's see first one. Zoilo & Co can obtain single registration for Punjab state, declaring anyone as the principal place and other 2 branches are additional place. Absolutely valid statement. Second option. They can obtain separate registration for each of the 3 branches of Amritsar, Jalandhar, Ludhiana. That option also is there. For multiple place of business within the same state, the person may take separate registration. It is not mandatory, but he may take separate registration. And third point, Zoilo & Co can obtain 1 GST registration for shoe business, that is Jalandhar branch, and another GST registration which is common for garments branch, Amritsar and Ludhiana. That also you can do. This privilege also is there in the law. You're getting what I'm saying, my dear friends? So answer is either option 1 or option 2 or option 3. Answer is option B, my dear friends. Either 1 or 2 or 3. Next. What is the validity of registration certificate granted under GST for normal taxpayer? There is nothing called yearly renewal of registration. Once it is granted, it is always valid. Till the time you don't cancel it. So answer is option C, my dear friends. Valid till it is cancelled. There is nothing called 1 year, 2 years, 5 years and all. Next one. Within how many days an application for revocation of cancellation can be made provided no extension to time limit has been granted? We can apply for revocation within 30 days from the date of service of cancellation order. From when he got cancellation order, from there within 30 days, he can apply for revocation. Answer is option D, 30 days. Next one. Can a registered person under composition scheme collect GST on his outward supply from recipient? Straight away answer is no. Composition registered person cannot collect tax from customer, because first of all is paying tax at a very small percentage. How can you again collect tax from customer, boss? Not possible, not allowed in the law. Next one. Which of the following activity is supply of service? Transfer of title in right in goods, undivided share in goods without transfer of title. 100% it is a service. Transfer of title will become goods. Transfer of title under agreement which stipulates that property shall pass at future date, something like hire purchase, still it becomes goods. So what is service is only the first point. So answer is option A, my dear friends. Very, very interesting MCQs, guys. I'm sure these are making sense for all of you guys. This is more of practice for us. Next. P Limited has registered office under Companies Act in the state of Maharashtra, from where it ordinarily carries on its business of taxable goods. It also has a warehouse in the state of Telangana for storing the said goods. What will be the place of business under GST law? What will be the place of business under GST law? Obviously, both Maharashtra and Telangana, both are place of business only. And we all know the fundamental fact that for multiple place of business in different state, separate registration is mandatory. So answer is both A and B, option C, my dear friends. Next, 22nd question. An exempt supply includes what? Supply of goods or services or both, which attracts nil rate of tax. True, that is exempt supply only. Non-taxable supply, that is also exempt supply. Non-taxable is those which are not covered in GST law. Something like alcohol, liquor for human consumption, 5 petroleum products. they are covered in non-taxable supply. But exempt supply also includes non-taxable supply. Then supply of goods or services or both which are wholly exempt, obviously. All the three are covered in exempt supply. So answer is 1, 2, and 3. Option D, my dear friends. Getting my point, everyone? Excellent. Which of the following services are exempt from GST? Service by artist by performance in classical art forms of painting, sculpture. No, man, that is taxable. Exemption is only for folk or classical art. Modern art, this is also taxable. Folk or classical art forms of music, dance, theatre with consideration exceeding 1 lakh. That is also taxable. Exemption is only for folk or classical art forms of music, dance, theatre with consideration not exceeding 1 lakh. So answer is option D, my dear friends. Service by way of admission to dash is not exempt from GST. Museum is exempt. National Park is also exempt. Tiger Reserve is also exempt. Recognized sporting event where the admission ticket cost 600 per person. This will become taxable because exemption is only when the ticket price does not exceed 500 per person. If it is 600, it becomes taxable. Next. Discount given after supply, technically called post-supply discount. And we know this concept that we can reduce this only if there is an agreement existing at the time of supply and the discount is linked to the invoice and if credit is reversed by the recipient, that too proportionate credit is reversed by recipient. Let's see. Discount is given as per agreement. Yes, mandatory condition before or at the time of supply. Discount is linked to invoice. Very good, important condition. Proportionate ITC is reversed by the recipient. Very good, again important condition. So all these 3 points have to be satisfied. So answer is option D, my dear friends. 1, 2, and 3. Such a lovely question, man. Next. Which of the following statement are correct? Revocation of cancellation under SGST shall be deemed to be revocation of cancellation under CGST. Absolutely true statement. Cancellation of registration under SGST shall be deemed to be cancellation under CGST. This is also true. Revocation of cancellation under CGST and SGST shall not be deemed, no, false. Cancellation shall not be deemed to be, this is also false. So 1 and 2 both are true. So answer is option A, 1 and 2. The logic is simple. If we apply for registration under CGST, you are deemed to be registered under SGST. If you have cancelled registration under CGST, you are deemed to be registered under SGST. And if you apply for revocation under SGST, you are deemed to be revoked under CGST also. Because in India, we follow dual GST model. 27th question. If goods are received in lots or installment, guys, section 16. If goods are received in lots or installment, credit can be availed only upon receipt of last lot or installment. There is no concept of proportionate ITC and all. So answer is option B, receipt of last lots. Then, for banking companies using inputs and input service, partly for taxable and partly for exempted, which of the following is true? For a banking company, we have got something called 17 subsection 4, which says that take 50% credit, balance 50% you forget it. Straight away. Or you follow the concept of apportionment. First one. ITC shall be compulsory restricted to credit attributable to taxable including zero rated. Correct. 50% you claim and the rest shall have. That is also correct. So they have got option of A or B. They can either go for proportionate credit logic or they can follow the concept of 50% credit. That is optional. But once they choose that option, they can't change the option in middle of the financial year. It is important that they have to continue in that particular option for the whole financial year, my dear friends. Clear? Next. 29th question. A supplier takes deduction of depreciation on the GST component of the cost of capital good. When you have taken depreciation on the GST component and income tax, there is no question of ITC, my dear friends. Please don't avail ITC on the set tax component. You're getting my point, everybody, my dear friends? Because the logic is very simple. When you have already availed depreciation and income tax on the GST component also, then please don't claim input tax credit. Because fundamental logic is simple. Either claim ITC or you claim depreciation. How can you claim both? Warehousing service of dash is exempt from GST. Be it exempt Apples, exempt. Pulses, exempt. Potato, that is also exempt because they are all agricultural products. So answer is option A, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next. Which of the following service received in the course of furtherance of business without consideration amounts to supply? Import of service by a person in India from his son well settled in USA. This is definitely supply because of section 7, 1C. Last point. Import of service by a person from related person or from any establishment outside India in the course of furtherance of business. Next. Import of service by a person in India from his brother well settled in Germany. This is not a supply because if brother is well settled, brother will not come under relative definition. Import of service by a person in India from his brother wholly dependent, then this definitely becomes supply. Once is dependent, he will become relative. Next. From his daughter, daughter is definitely relative. It does not depend whether it is dependent or not. So my reference for relative, for members, relative also covers members of the family. Family covers spouse and children. That means spouse and children are always covered whether dependent or not. Parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, only they are dependent only or mainly. You're getting my point, my dear friends? So answer is option A, 1, 3 and 4, which is a supply. Next. 32nd question. Which of the following persons engaged in making intrastate supplies from UP is not eligible for composition scheme, even though turnover does not exceed 1.5 crore? Restaurant service, you can go for composition scheme. Restaurant and bank interest, still you can go for composition scheme. Trading in ice cream, trader also can go for composition scheme. Manufacturer of ice cream cannot go, but trader in ice cream can go. Supplying service of repairing electronic items, this particular person cannot go for a composition scheme. I hope this question is clear. Very interesting question, guys. Next question. Time of supply in case of RCM is what? That too in case of service they're talking about. Date of payment or 61st day from date of invoice. Whichever is earlier. That point is given by 13.3, my dear friends. That's it. Answer is option D. Because date of payment means date when payment is entered in the books or date when payment is debited in the bank. Whichever is earlier. Next question. Which of the following service does not fall under reverse charge? Service supplied by arbitral tribunal to business entity, that is covered in RCM. Sponsorship service provided to body, corporate or firm, that is also RCM. Body, corporate also RCM. Service of renting of motor vehicle for passenger provided to a recipient other than body corporate. Here RCM will not. RCM will come only when receiver is a body corporate. So answer is option D, my dear friends. Which of the following services are exempt from GST? Admission to circus where entry ticket cost 550 per person. Wow, what a brilliant point, my dear friends. Such a brilliant point. Next. Interest charged, in fact, for circus, entry ticket is how much? 550. Next. Interest charge on outstanding credit card balance, that is also taxable. Service by organizer to any person in respect of business exhibition held in India, that is also taxable. Exemption is only when it is held outside India. Next. Service by foreign diplomatic mission located in India, that is exempt. So answer is option D, my dear friends. Next. ITC of motor vehicle used for making dash is allowed. Transportation of goods is allowed. Taxable supply of transported passengers, that is also allowed. Taxable supply of imparting training on driving, that case also credit is allowed. So answer is option B, 1, 2 and 3. Next question, guys. NRTP is required to apply registration when? As per section 27, CTP NRTP must apply for registration at least 5 days prior to commencement of business. So answer is option D, my dear friends, at least 5 days prior to commencement of business. Next. Registration certificate given to CTP NRTP. How long it is valid, guys? Period specified in the application or 90 days, whichever is earlier. Next point, guys. In case of taxable supply of services by NBFC to other than distinct person, invoice shall be issued within 45 days. Generally, it is 30 days, but banks NBFC it is 45 days. See what lovely questions we have got. See, if any of this question comes in the exam, you'll be extremely happy, guys. Next one, where the goods are being sent or taken on approval, goods on approval basis for sale or return are removed before supply take place. Invoice shall be issued when supply is done, that means when it is accepted, or 6 months from the date of removal. So answer is earlier of A or B. In fact, all the story is given by section 31, time limit for issuance of tax invoice. Next question. Invoice shall be prepared in dash in case of supply of goods and dash in case of services. Simple answer, triplicate in case of goods, duplicate in case of services. The reason because original for recipient, duplicate for transporter, triplicate for supplier. But in service, there is no transporter logic. That is why invoice is prepared in duplicate. Next one. Which of the following shall be discharged first while discharging liability of a taxable person? First, you have to discharge all the dues related to previous tax period, then current tax period, then only the demand raised. So answer is option A, all dues related to previous tax period. Next. Due date for filing final return. Sometime back we got this point, 3 months from the date of cancellation or 3 months from date of order of cancellation, whichever is later. Which of the following statement is true under GST law? Grandparents are never considered as relative. No, that is false. Grandparents are always relative. That is also false. Grandparents are considered as relative to their grandson or granddaughter only if they are wholly dependent. 100% it is true. Last case, only if they are not dependent. This is also false. So answer is option C. Only if they are wholly or mainly dependent, they are regarded as relative. Sometime back I told you that family who is covered is spouse and children are always covered. Parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, only if they are dependent, wholly or mainly. Next question. Alcohol liquor for human consumption is subjected to what? Alcohol liquor for human consumption, we know that it is not covered in GST. Old duties are only still continued. So answer is option C, both A and B. Because we know that GST definition itself says GST is a tax on supply of all goods or services or both, except alcohol liquor for human consumption. Input tax credit is not available in respect of following. Goods for personal consumption, right? No ITC. Membership of a club provided by the employer to employees as per company's internal policy, then credit is not allowed. If it is a statutory obligation, then credit is allowed. Travel benefits given to employees on vacation, but this is also as per company's internal policy, then also credit is not allowed. So 1, 2, 3, all the 3 cases, credit is not allowed. Answer is option D, 1, 2, 3. Next. Which of the following is not considered as goods? 10 paisa coin having sale value of 100. This is definitely goods, my dear friends. Because the reason being, it is basically a currency held for numismatic value, which is not covered in definition of money. If it is not covered in definition of money, it is covered in goods. Because goods cover every kind of movable property other than money and security, but includes actionable claims. Shares are not covered in goods. Lottery ticket are again covered in goods. So only second point is not covered in goods. So answer is option B, 2. There is nothing but shares, because goods cover every kind of movable property other than money and securities, but does not include actionable claims. I repeat again, goods cover every kind of movable property other than money and securities, but includes actionable claims. Growing crops, grass or things attached to or forming part of land, which are severed or agreed to be severed before supply or under contract of supply. Next. Ram, a jeweler registered under GST in Mumbai, wants to sell his jewelry in Trade Expo held in Delhi. If it is Trade Expo, then please take registration as CTP. Which of the following statement is false? He needs to get registration in Delhi as CTP. That is true. He needs to pay advance tax estimated liability. That is also true. He needs to mandatory have place of business in Delhi. That is false. He needs to file 193B for a Delhi as a case of when he get registered in Delhi. That is also true. So answer is option C. Because CTB registration is mandatory. Which of the following is exempt supply? Sale of liquor, that is regarded as non-taxable, but that is covered in exempt supply. Because exempt supply also includes non-taxable. Supply of healthcare by hospital, that is also exempt. Transmission of electricity, that is also exempt. So 1, 2, 3, all three are covered in exempt supply. Next, which of the following is a recognized system of medicine for exemption of healthcare? Healthcare exemption is only when it is recognized system of medicine. Allopathy, of course, recognized. Unani, recognized. Siddha, that is also recognized. Allopathy, homeopathy, naturopathy, Siddha, Unani, all these are recognized system of medicine. So all these three are exempt. Which of the following services is exempt under healthcare service given by clinical establishment? Chemist shop in the hospital selling medicines to public at large, that is definitely taxable. Food supply by canteen run by the hospital to inpatients, that means who are admitted as per the diet prescribed by hospital dietitian, that is exempted because this is a part of treatment. Food supplied to the visitors or attendants of the patient in the hospital by the canteen run by the hospital, that is taxable. Advertisement service provided by a hospital, that is also taxable without any second thought about it. Clear, friends? Like this, lot of times, interesting questions keep coming in the exam on exemptions point, guys. In case of supply of goods for 5 lakh, following information is given. Goods boss. Advance issued on 1st April, that is not relevant for us. Invoice issued on 15th April, goods are removed on 25th April. So in case of goods, my dear friends, invoice must be issued on or before date of removal. And section 12.2 says time of supply is date of invoice, which is nothing but actual date of invoice or last day when invoice is ought to have been issued, whichever is earlier. We are talking about forward charge. In this case, the answer becomes 15th of April. Next point. Sham Limited, located in Mumbai, is receiving legal service from a lawyer. Legal service means that is covered under RCM. Aggregate turnover of Sham is 42 lakh. That is why it is covered in RCM. If not, that would have been exempt. Invoice issued on 15th April. Since it is RCM 13.3, it says date of payment or 61st day from date of invoice, whichever is earlier. And moreover, date when payment is debited is 5th May, entered is 1st May. So date of payment will become 1st May. And we will also see 61st day from date of invoice, which will come somewhere in June. So answer is definitely, my dear friends, what? Answer is definitely 1st of May. So which is nothing but option A, my dear friends, because date of payment or 61st day from date of invoice, whichever is earlier. And date of payment is nothing but date when payment is entered in the books or date when payment is debited in the bank, whichever is earlier. Next question. Which of the following is not eligible for obtaining composition levy? ABC, a firm selling garments, that means trader, solely in Ahmedabad having turnover of 78 lakhs. You can take composition. Startup company, exclusive operating restaurant, take composition 98 lakhs only. Courier company, how can courier company take composition? If they provide, they can take, provided turnover is not more than 50 lakhs. But here it is 90 lakhs. So they can't take composition. Trader selling grocery items solely in Odisha having 95 lakhs. They also can take composition. So who can't take is only courier service person. Next point, question number 55. Assuming that all the activities given below are undertaken for a consideration, state which of the following is not a supply of service. Renting of commercial complex, it is a supply of service. An employee agreeing to not work for the competitor organization after leaving the current employment, that is also supply, guys. Exemption is only when, which is not a supply, only when service is given by employee to employer in the course of employment. Repairing of mobile phone, that is also a supply. Provision of service by employee to employer in the course of employment, that is definitely not a supply because that is covered in the point of services supply transactions which are neither supply of goods nor supply of service. Next question. During the month of May, Z Limited sold goods to Y Limited for 2,55,000 and charged 18% GST. However, owing to some defect in the goods, while returned some of the goods by issuing debit note of 440,000 in the same month. Z records the return of goods by issuing credit note of 40,000 plus GST in the same month. In this situation, what will be the GST liability of Z for the month of May? What is that they actually got, my dear friends? 2,55,000 they sold the goods and they issued a credit note for 40,000. That will reduce. So the balance will become 2,15,000 into 18%. Let me calculate, guys. 2,15,000 into 18% is coming to 38,700. So answer is option B, my dear friends, 38,700, because credit note value will be reduced from the value of taxable supply. Next question. Goods as per 252 includes actionable claims, of course, included. Growing crops which are severed before supply, that is also included. Money is not included, security is not included. So 1 and 2 are included. So answer is option C, my dear friends, 1 and 2. Next question. Which of the following statement is incorrect under GST now? If supplier has erroneously declared a value which is more than the actual value, then he can issue credit note. This is definitely true, my dear friends. Which of the, if the supplier declared some special discount which is offered after supply is over, then he cannot issue credit note under GST law for discount offer. For what offer, my dear friends? Discount offer. This is also correct, my dear friends. If the quantity received by the recipient is more than what has been declared in the tax invoice, supplier can issue debit note. This is also correct. There is no time limit to declare the details of debit note in the return. How can that be there? Debit note is a document given by the supplier when there is an increase in tax, and law clearly says which month you gave debit note, please show in the same month. So this statement is incorrect. So which statement is incorrect is only the fourth statement. So answer is option C, my dear friends, fourth point. Dear friends, next. ABC Limited generated a waybill on 12th February at 2 o'clock. It transported over-dimensional cargo for a distance of 100 kilometers. Over-dimensional cargo, my dear friends, first 20 kilometers, the validity is 1 day. And for every part thereof, we get 1 additional day. And it is 100 kilometers, so technically it becomes 5 days time. And even though it's 2 o'clock, it doesn't matter. We have time till midnight, always. And it is 12th Feb, 5 days will become 17th Feb. That means 17th to 18th February. Validity period of eBay will expire on dash if there is no extension of the same. Midnight of 17th to 18th. So answer is option B, my dear friends, because it is over-dimensional cargo. If this would have not been over-dimensional cargo, our answer would have been up to 100 kilometers 1 day. But 100 now became 200. That's a different story. Next. Ram, an individual based in Gujarat, is in employment and earning 10 lakhs as salary. He is also providing intrastate consultancy services to different organizations on growth and expansion of business. His turnover from supply of service is what, my dear friends? 12 lakhs. Determine whether Ram is liable for taking a registration. You have to understand that, first of all, this 10 lakhs is neither a supply of goods nor supply of service. So when it is neither supply of goods nor supply of service, we will not consider that for aggregate turnover. The balance amount is only 12 lakhs. So registration is not required. So if you look at all the options, option C makes sense because service in the course of employment does not constitute supply. And therefore, aggregate turnover is less than 20 lakhs. When it is less than 20 lakh, there is no need to take registration. So friends, these are the interesting MCQs on which I wanted to spend some time so that we get some good clarity of thought on some interesting more MCQs what ICA have added to the course. Already, a lot of MCQs are there as a part of our course content, but we also discuss some more interesting MCQs what ICA has added. And I'm sure this was acting as a good round of revision for all of us, guys. Wonderful. With this, I'll complete the story, my dear friends, and I wish you all the very, very best. Wish you all success. And anytime, any doubt, feel free to post in our forum queries. We'll be more than happy to reply. At Indigo Learn, we are always there for your support. And for us, it is always students first. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. All the best. Do write really well and come out with flying colors. Thank you. Shiva Teja signing off. Bye-bye.